Hi everyone. I was in a Times higher education panel yesterday, and the panel topic was about enabling digital transformation in the APAC region through use of innovative digital tools, learning tools. And one of the discussion points that was there was very keenly discussed and debated. It was about hybrid learning models. And I thought in the run up to a follow up to that particular summit and webinar, why shouldn't I get a practitioner who is working on these models these days, and he has got views. And the person is, you can see Vineet Gupta. He has founded Ashoka University, Plaksha University, and also founder of Jambori. Vineet, welcome to this discussion. Uh, I just want to quickly start with the question that do you think hybrid learning is for real or it is just pure hype?
Well, for now, Manish, it definitely seems that it is for real. In the last almost 12 years since online education became mainstream, there has been a lot of discussion on the future of education, particularly online education. And the jury has been out whether online can replace classroom teaching. And the pandemic, I think, in some sense, was a real test.
Mhm.
We've all known, and you know this too, that the outcomes in online education have always been suspect in the past. Completion rates of courses are very poor. So online education, in some sense, before the pandemic was at the periphery. The pandemic brought it to the forefront because clearly classroom education was disrupted and everybody had to be online. And we saw the euphoria almost when the pandemic struck. I could notice that in the next 6 to 9 months or 12 months, there was a lot of excitement around online education because clearly it was looking like a good alternative with lots of benefits. You don't have to travel, don't have to move people, the connectivity, the reach is far greater. So there was, it was almost as if this is going to be a game changer. And no doubt it is a game changer, but very quickly, maybe 9 months into the pandemic, we also discovered that students had tremendous fatigue, particularly students who are learning continuously. So if you're in a school setting, in a college setting, where you have to learn continuously, then that continuous learning in a pure online format was causing all sorts of things: loss of concentration, fatigue, boredom, etc. And almost uniformly, at least in the institutions that I've been part of, whether it's Ashoka or Plaksha or Jamburi, we saw a real sort of uh, appeal from students that please get us back into the classrooms. Now, out of the three that I've associated with, two are universities, very formal education systems. There, I think the appeal was maximum. Students in continuous learning in higher education definitely did not want to learn in the online model, to the extent that students had started saying, I mean, we were launching Plaksha last year in 21 when the campus opened, and students were saying, we are not going to come till we are promised that it's going to be a physical classroom. What we found out at Jamburi is that the impact was a little mixed because Jamburi runs test prep programs, which are sort of not mainstream education, but which students are undergoing to improve their scores. So the preparation time could be anything between 3 months to 6 to 9 months, and students can typically spend 6-7 hours a week, not 6-7-8 hours a day, but 6-7 hours a week. There we found that the acceptance of online education was far greater. So Jamburi started as a very traditional brick and mortar company offering courses in our centers, and almost 95% of our students used to study in the classroom before the pandemic. Now we find that ratio is almost 60-40. 60% people want to be in the classroom and 40% want to learn online. So clearly, and this is the data of the last sort of 6 months after the pandemic got over, in the sense things started to come back to normal. So clearly we find hybrid is here to stay in models such as Jamboree, which are test prep, not mainstream learning, but where students are engaging for some time with trying to learn something. Some are preferring online, some are preferring classroom, and many are preferring this hybrid approach where you can come to the classroom at some times, but you can also learn online. All your self-testing, a lot of the doubt clearing can happen now on online mediums. You don't need to physically travel to the classroom just to meet a teacher for 10 minutes, right? So I think those things are definitely here to stay. We're not going to find people just to travel long distances to meet a teacher for 15 minutes, rather meet the teacher over an extended interaction. So those things are here to stay. My firm belief is that in models where where students have to spend maybe 6, 8, 10 hours a week in learning, online is a great medium. Hybrid is a great medium. In continuous learning, whether in school or college, students do want to be in the classroom, but then again, hybrid techniques of being able to connect with the faculty member, getting some pre-recorded lectures. If you miss a lecture, you can see something. So my firm belief is hybrid is clearly here to stay. And depending on what sort of teaching model you are running, the online adaptation is far higher. In some cases, classroom is the dominant mode, and in some cases, there is a clear combination of both. But I do believe that education companies will necessarily have to change. You can't depend on classroom alone, or you can't depend on online alone.
Yeah, very interesting. So, Vineet, one of the things we were linked to this that discussing yesterday, in fact, I brought it up. It was about a model, and it's a very old model from 1970s. It's called Moore's model of transactional distance. And what that model says is, for a distance learning setting per se, there are three major elements in play. So there is structure, dialogue, and learner autonomy. Okay, and depending on how well you cover structure, dialogue, and learner autonomy, the transactional distance, which they call the distance of gap of understanding between what teacher is teaching and student is learning, will increase or decrease. Okay, and it's a very fascinating model. So for example, if you look at a learner who is in school, they need more structure, more dialogue, but supposedly less learner autonomy. While if you look at a university student, he will need more learner autonomy, less structure, and more dialogue. So there are combination at play there, and I just want to pick your brains on, when we look at hybrid delivery model that you just described for Jamboree also, and particularly if you look at structure, dialogue, and learner autonomy, any thoughts beyond this model, as well as how well you are handling this piece, and as the market pans out, especially in the test prep sector, what are concrete 3-4 things you are doing in Jamboree on the hybrid learning side of things?
Right. So, no, I think that's a great analogy, Manish. I would believe that on the learner autonomy side, learning is getting more and more personalized. So you will definitely need to, as you are constructing your curriculum, as you are constructing your modes of instruction, I think you have to craft your curriculum and your subject matter in a manner that people who can learn faster can progress more quickly, and people who are struggling with the material or need more time with concepts, they can do things at their own pace. So as against this idea that everybody will graduate in 4 years, higher education may move to a place where somebody is graduating in 2.5 years, and somebody is graduating in 5 years. And this is, while it's harder to do this in a formal setting like a university, but in institutions like Jamboree, it's all the more easier, because there's no prescription on when you should write the GMAT. Somebody is saying, look, I'm prepared in 30 days. And somebody is saying, even after 6 months, I'm not prepared. So what's the level of questions you give them? How do they progress to the next class? that that learning can get very, very personalized. And, there are lots of AI models which are now coming up, both in the way you craft your study material, where the next question is more difficult than the first one, depending how did you answer the first question. Or if you are not getting a concept, they take you back to concept. So I think artificial intelligence will make learning more personalized, and there are lots of applications coming. Lots of companies are developing technology, and Jamboree is, of course, also exploring and bringing in these ideas in various ways. So that, I think, is going to be a very, very good frontier that more and more education companies are going to adopt. The second is really going to be in testing, in the whole domain of analyzing your, whatever tests you've written. If you analyze them now, especially with analytical tools and, the power of computing, etc., you can go very deep and find out, rather than spending 3 hours to go through your questions and finding out, okay, which area am I making mistakes? Am I making more mistakes in permutation combination, or am I making more mistakes in geometry? Now you write the test, you click a button, and you can get a very good analysis that, look, you got 4 questions wrong in this subject, maybe 2 wrong here. So I think this whole analysis of test taking, and again, sort of going back to what are your weak areas, what are your strong areas, this whole domain, I think, is also going to be really, really powerful. The third, of course, which perhaps is right at the top, but I think the jury is still out on that, is this whole element of instructional design in the way you are crafting instruction. And of course, there are many companies, and without naming them, some of them are doing a great job in terms of how they are really imparting knowledge. Rather than writing text on a blackboard, can you convey the same concept through a great visual medium? So I think these are areas where clearly technology is helping, and technology can actually play a much better part than pure classroom teaching. So these areas we definitely want to bring into our course materials, videos, analysis, testing.
Also,
and I think it's going to be exciting to see how this develops in the next few years.
Yeah, Vineet, you also mentioned last time we were talking about how even your offline students. So you run programs in so many cities now. So you were anyways hybrid beginning of the COVID. So there is I don't think there is anything new for you. But you mentioning that post COVID you have seen a behavior change in terms of students who have also joined offline program wanting some live classes and some flexibility. Do you think this model where students are asking for flexibility is a good model? Will it lead to better mental health for students also? That is one aspect we also debated yesterday, that this flexibility also give mental ease and less stress, which can impact performance positively. What's your take on that?
Well, I'm I'm not a mental health expert to really comment on the mental health aspect, but I am certainly a big fan of flexibility.
Yeah.
Flexibility allows, people can fall sick, people may not be people, especially some of our students who are working, they may be traveling, they may get busy at work during a particular week. So, the flexibility for learners is absolutely a great idea. And whatever flexibility one can provide in curriculum is absolutely great. Rather, I was speaking to a student, a prospective GMAT student, a couple of weeks ago, and at least I felt that even in our online offerings, I felt maybe the live model where students can be at home but study from a teacher in a live format.
Yeah.
I thought that model was scoring over the pure online pre-recorded video model.
Yeah.
It sort of challenged me to say, look, I would rather prefer the pre-recorded, because, I work very late, and, it's very difficult for me to take out these 2 hours. So I want to watch these videos at my convenience. So I think this whole notion of flexibility that you brought out is extremely, extremely important. And I think this will also find its way in formal education.
Yeah. yeah.
not just
But
in test
yeah,
companies or peripheral learning, but this will find its way into academia, in higher education. It will find its way into school education. And it'll be interesting to see how our education system evolves to accommodate this flexibility.
yeah, yeah. Because the flip side, which I was talking to some university professors about, and that's a continuous challenge with live classes, that videos are not on from student
Yes,
side, and which is a directly proportional to the level of engagement in some sense. If the videos are not on, means that they are not highly engaged, and
right.
so I think that is one challenge that flexibility brings to the table.
And I would
And,
say not only they are not engaged, but I would also wonder that they are not very attentive too. I
yeah,
mean, I can
yeah,
say for my own self that in an online meeting where my video is off,
yeah,
I have noticed that my tendency to get distracted and get on to do
much
something else
higher.
is greater
Yeah,
than
yeah,
the case. So, this is definitely true what you are saying. So time will tell
yeah.
how those learning outcomes are, etc. And I mean, and that's probably one reason why students are already fatigued of online education and they want to sort of come back into.
Yeah. So I think just an aside that one of the professor obviously is treating video off as absent in his class. So he is obviously pushing it in the wrong way. But I think more innovation needs to happen on pedagogy so that classes are more engaged in the live way, and pedagogy should also evolve for live class formats. What works in live format, which is different. Vinit, this brings me to the next set of questions about you know and you can talk about other edtech players who are now creating, I would say, a beeline to launch their hybrid model, even your competition in some form. What's your take? You think they're getting it, they are late in the game? Just your thoughts on that. I think
So
this is, yeah,
I wouldn't make a blanket judgment, Manish. It's very, very
yeah, yeah,
individual and very different. It's like somebody telling Jamboree that, look, you've been a classroom company and, do you think you can really do
yeah,
online learning? So I would, of course, say a categorical no. Maybe it will take us more time and
yeah,
it will take us some more time to learn the tricks of the trade, but it's not that companies can't do it. So it will be very case to case dependent. But yes,
mm,
what I can say is these are two different animals.
yeah,
Online education and classroom teaching are two very different animals, and you have to learn the tricks of the trade. Just like for Jamboree, which was a classroom company, and we started delving into technology and edtech about 10 years ago. Similarly, I think for some of these online players, it may take them a little bit more time to adapt to opening up physical offices and physical centers. Some may succeed, some may not.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
I don't think one can say a blanket that this is difficult to do or can't be done. I think it's going to be very case to case dependent.
Yeah, and we need. I think I'm just going back to the last question about classrooms of tomorrow. Where, like you mentioned, there are some students who are joining online, some students who are in the class, which again is probably a model that will evolve. Any thoughts on how you are looking at it from even Jamboree or overall perspective?
See this now. What you've read is a really just not hybrid in terms of one versus the other, but a truly hybrid classroom
Yeah,
where
yeah,
half the class is here and half the class is all over the world. Uh,
right.
to be honest, Manish, we've tried this a lot at Plaksha. We've tried this a lot at Ashoka. We've also tried this at Jamboree. I feel here the technology has some more progress to.
Mm.
I don't think the technologies have evolved where it's very seamless. Sometimes you may have an audio issue. Sometimes the people online are not having a great experience. Sometimes people in the classroom are getting disturbed.
Yeah,
So it's happening, but I've not seen a very seamless sort of transition yet. But I'm sure these solutions will come sooner
yeah,
than we expect. And I think clearly the world is experimenting.
yeah,
Uh, I think it's a great model. It should be tried because, imagine a set of students in Sonipat at Ashoka attending a class together with students from all over the world.
Yeah.
being taught by a professor in Harvard or Yale or something. So I think these are some great possibilities. Technology has some more progress to make on this front, but
Yeah.
I think everybody
Yeah.
is trying to do this, and
Yeah.
it will be a next frontier,
Yeah.
and
And-
very very good.
so that brings me to the last question, which is, recommendations for budding entrepreneur. You being a serial entrepreneur founder, what is it that you will talk to edtech entrepreneurs about? It can be about hybrid or in general about any white spaces that you want them to go after, things that would be of interest to you also in Jambori and other universities, Ashoka and Plaksha. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think few thoughts. One, as a general principle of people trying to create companies, I am a firm believer that entrepreneurs should create companies to provide value to the customer, right? You have to be really, really concerned about your student or your customer segment. So create companies which really provide a great service and great value, and build your company with that manner, that you are here to provide a great service, and valuation has to follow. Sometimes the problem I find with at least some new age entrepreneurs is that valuation is the first metric and everything else that you are building is the second metrics. Now that I feel is a very wrong way to build organizations. If you are chasing valuations, then you are just chasing valuation. It may happen or it may not happen, but you are definitely not going to build a sustainable company.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first goal has to be to build a great service to fill a need in the market, to really do a great job for your students, to bring that wow factor, and valuations will follow. But don't do the other way. With so much venture capital coming in, Series A, Series B, a lot of capital is just chasing growth mindlessly. So those are things which honestly I find very difficult to absorb and also very difficult to appreciate. But I'm sure there is some method to that madness, but probably I don't understand that. So my advice will be that entrepreneurs should build sustainable companies, sustainable businesses. The second, as far as education, edtech is concerned, I think there is just lots of gaps to be filled. We brought in one gap right now, which is like, we still don't have technology which can truly have a hybrid classroom, right? This whole place of, I discovered in the university management systems when we were building, a lot of them are being imported from outside, from the West. And, it's like an SAP trying to adapt to a startup. Yeah. So I think there's great room for technology in imparting instruction, technology to make learning personalized. So this whole domain of data science and AI comes in. There's also great room for technology in management of education. So all these domains, I think, have new frontiers to conquer. And, if we find some great solutions in these, there will be a lot of value to be unlocked.
Great. It was a fascinating conversation, Vineet, with you. I think we'll have many more such conversations in the future.
Thanks, Manish.
Thanks.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.